Hey guys, welcome back to Tough Love with Dr. John O'Connor. My guest, DJ Ten Hoeve, absolutely one of the best real estate agents, gurus, moguls, whatever you want to say, I think in the United States. This guy is climbing, his social media. I actually will say I'm going to blow him up a little bit and embarrass him because I have to say, I don't know what's more impressive. His recent photo shoots for his fashion while he's on his way to sell real estate or his real estate capability and the team that he has. Anyway, DJ, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, bro. Thanks
So, DJ, game plan today is we're going to talk about kind of year in review. I was inspired when I reached out to you the other day. Eric Thomas put a podcast out there 2 weeks left, 2023. Mm-hmm. Sit on that. Think about that for a little bit. And I know that one of the big pushes that you've been putting on this year is body transformation, your discipline. And I know as a previous guest, we talked about what you do in work, but today's really about you and then, what 2023 was for you and then what 2024 looks like. So let's just open it up with, you've been really pushing and changing your comfort zone with regards to like your workouts and stuff like that. And I do believe that even with business, I know for me, like when I'm working out hard and the workouts, I'm not hurt, I feel amazing at work.
Yeah.
Tell me about, I think you're doing F45 right now.
Yeah. So my workouts are typically 4 days a week, a typical resistance split. And then I added in 2 days a week, F45, just because I've been trying to lean out. I put on a lot of muscle over the last 3.5 years or so, probably 10 to 12 pounds of muscle, but I can't strip off that last 1 to 2% of body fat that I really want to get down. So it comes down to two things, right? It's either eat less or work out more. And I've gotten down, my resting metabolism is lower than where I would like. So at this point, I can't eat less. I literally feel like I'm starving myself while keeping my protein and rest of my macros in line. So for me, I have to add other things in. So that's where F45 came in. It's just a matter of keeping me working more, burning more carbs, burning more calories, and trying to work in that high intensity interval training. So I am probably as active in workouts as I've ever been in my adult life, aside from probably when I was playing ball in high school and college.
Awesome. So with that being, how's your body hanging in there? I saw you.
Body feels good, man.
I live in the hot tub, so I saw you pop in. So how's it feel?
Yeah, I look at your recoveries and I realize I got to do more to recover because, it happened to me this weekend, right? So Sunday morning I went to F45 and we did RDLs in 2 of the 4 sets that I was going through. And I was like, that's the third time I did hamstrings this week. And all of a sudden I felt a tweak in the back of my right hamstring. And I was like, I got to take it easy. I got to recover more. So I watch yours to see where I need to be putting more time into recovery. But I got to admit, at 43, I am injury prone at this point and feeling really good.
Awesome. And it's funny, I laugh because I was busting
injury
chops.
Free, not injury prone.
I got it. I knew what you meant. The funny thing about that is at 49, I got you by a few years, and I would never. Nothing would stop me at 43. I would be, running, semi-pro basketball workouts. I'd be getting my workouts at 4:00 in the morning. And my biggest advice that I could give to you is that recovery time is not recovery time. That's cleaning the gun.
Yeah.
And it's keeping the gun ready for battle. And so many times I look at people and they're like, oh, I do and there's so many fantastic trainers out there, John Russin, this one, that one, their workouts are calibrated. I know you have, fitness experts over top of you, as do I. And the recovery for me is critical path. I don't care how much people are out there with regards to talking about reverse aging, but you got to do that work. Right. Yeah. And, I've given myself, obviously one of my pleasures is shopping for sports clothes. I was just showing you a pair of kicks, shout out to my boy at John L for these brand new, Golden Gooses that I got. And, but the thing that kills me is that when I miss the recovery, when you talk about that hamstring tweak, I feel it right away.
Yeah.
And I got a couple joints that are like, they're like the annoying neighbor. The minute you think they go away, you hear them chirping.
But the more active you are in something, the more you're attuned to notice the tweaks, right?
Yes.
It's like sommeliers, right? They can notice the differences between wines that the general consumer couldn't be able to discern because they're so in that space. The more you are in that, you think about it with surfers too. How can a surfer understand the fin angle being slightly different on one board versus another? But when you're that dialed into what you're doing, you feel every single change.
Understood. Now tell me this. Obviously, we talked about this with your social media and your business and the fitness thing. we were at an event a few weeks ago, actually about 6 weeks ago. It was a game changer, obviously. But most importantly, it was funny because I was sitting there like the proud big brother and people hadn't seen you.
Yeah.
And then we went to Cousins. We were at another event together and they're like, hey, he looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And it made me happy because you weren't paying attention and they were behind you. And I was like, he's putting in that work. Do you notice with work that's giving you a little bit more swag? Because I know that's one of the big things that you feel like in your selling ability or your education of real estate, that presentation is there. So do you feel like you had a little bit more pop in your step?
Even if people don't notice it, I always say to the agents that we train and the people on our team, whatever you need to do to walk out that door with swagger, that's what you got to do right. So for me, from a business perspective, what gives me that swagger is technical knowledge. I'm a perfectionist. So if I can feel like I know every objection that's going to come at me before I'm there and I know how I'm going to handle those, I walk out like I'm going to crush it. Adding in the fitness to it where you feel good, you look in the mirror, you dress up and you feel like you look great as you walk out the door, that's just an added bonus. And that definitely just allows me to walk into appointments and feel like I'm going to crush them.
I love it. You know, it's funny. I was with John L. from Garmani yesterday and I was like, you know, DJ and I are going to definitely have to do a photo shoot of, healthcare wellness guru and real estate mogul rolls in there. Man. So one of the things that I love is that we were talking about this last time, and I know you love the Ray Lewis, the morning motivations, affirmations. And what in 2023 was an affirmation that's a DJ Ten Hoeve? Like, what did you come up with?
I've taken things from a lot of different places, but I still go back to that Ray Lewis one. It's a river of compassion washes away anger and replaces it with love. That line in that affirmation to me is everything, because I've kind of always operated from a place where I find competition in other people. And it's not that I'm competing against anybody else. It's always competing me versus me. It's always me in the mirror. But I'm trying to, in 2024, be more compassionate and become more approachable. That's the one part of my personality I'm really working on. So for an affirmation of 2023 that I'm taking into 2024 is really going to be being more compassionate, being more approachable to other people. I've been so driven to this point in my life. It's served me well, but I really want to kind of soften some of those edges to the public over the next year.
I feel the same way, and I can totally relate to that. I notice that when I'm in it, I am a demon. And the patients love it because you're locked in. The providers are like, woof, right?
Yeah, they see it.
But the reality is that compassion, and it, again, it can carry over to so many things in life. This year was obviously it was a roller coaster for me. And, my affirmation for 2024 is find that peace. And that when everybody's around you, that they can feel it.
Yeah.
I think the most discerning part of 2023 for me was there were so many times people were looking at me saying, hey, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And, so I think that the footsteps forward for me are just about just kind of digging in and saying, hey, whatever I'm going to do, I'm always like us, we're very similar. I want to do it the best. Yeah. But whether it's personal life, financial, physical, I want to make sure that all walks give me that same level of peace. Yeah. And I think, some of the amazing podcasters that I love that are obviously businessmen that then take it out there and broadcast their success and their algorithm to success to the world. And it's so true. It's like, I'm always like a preacher of Ed Milet, and a lot of people, and I'm still shocked. A lot of people still don't know who he is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I'm like, that man puts his life out there and he is successful on a whole nother platform. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I love is just his level of consistency. And I love when he calls himself out. Yeah. When he feels like he's losing something or he gets people around him. And when you're that transparent and when you're that big, you're everywhere. Right. And, one of the things in 2024 that I'm going to do, and I'm definitely going to make the opportunity to invite you to everything that I try to attend, is I want to emulate those people. Yeah. I want to attend those events and make time that my recovery time is to watch the people that when we were kids and whatever, you were a baseball, pitcher, was it your Mariano Rivera, whoever it was you loved, but for me now as a business athlete, who impresses me in that field, right? And see them present so that I'm like, you know what? I want to develop that, you know, if you're a tennis player, I want to develop that backhand. Hey, I want to develop that presentation.
Humility, that's the one. Humility is the hard one to develop. And I think that's the thing you're getting to that I love in some of these people who are up there, are billionaires right now, crushing it in business, crushing it in motivation. Yeah, the guy who's making a lot of money, fantastic. But if all you talk about is yourself, that ain't for me. There's nothing better than the person who's crushed it and is constantly turning the mirror on themselves to go, how can I get better? What did I fuck up? How could I do that differently? How could I be better to people? So I'm with you, man.
You know, it's funny. I knew I'd love today. This is already catching fire in my brain. I would say, you know, we were out that night and I was chuckling and I was listening to you, watch your swag, watch you talk about stuff. And in that real estate event, those guys, and there was definitely a motley crew of people there. It was impressive to watch them try to figure out how to get an angle on you.
And no one's figured that out yet.
And it was kind of entertaining to me because what I do in my space, you know, I've always been, you know, going to, you know, multiracial medical events, and I'm just kind. I'm intense. I mean, I go right to their chest, but I'm kind. I'm just like, yeah, I know we're doing great, this and that, try to keep positive. But it was funny because you were like in the corner and everybody wanted to be in that corner.
Yeah.
And I was chuckling. I said, you know, I almost feel like I'm back in the nightclub. So I got to put the red rope out and charge admission and get to DJ. But what do you attribute that to? I mean, because obviously we're different walks. Are you moving that many houses, or do you think it's the fact that your discipline and how you live your life is very different than a lot of the competitors, if you will? But I don't even think you look at them as competitors. I think you just do you, and you're trying to perfect you. That's what's separating you apart.
I think it is that we just do things differently, that I'm disciplined enough that I just try to do the right thing all the time to help people. And I know in the end, that's going to end up increasing business, but there's so few people in our space locally that actually run it like a business. And it's nothing against anybody in the real estate space, because there's plenty of people who make a killing and do a really good job and help tons of customers, but they're just one-off agents, right? And you can make a great living doing that. That was never my goal. My goal was to build a big business. And in order to do that, I need to lead by example, but we also just do things differently, right? So anybody who's in that room trying to angle to try to get my attention, they don't have something to grab onto, because it's not like, well, let me incentivize him with this sort of kickback that I know can get him because he'll make some money on it.
We said that. I was like, you said that the funniest thing, because one of those guys who were in that thing, you're like, I've never taken one. I started laughing because I think that guy was about to be like, you do kickbacks, I'm your guy. And you're like, yeah, that's just not my thing.
It's so comforting to be able to know when you go to sleep at night that like I run a clean business, and that if I'm going to do business with somebody, it's going to be because they make me look good. They take care of the customer, whatever it is. It's to benefit the customer in the end. But it does lead people to have like a lot of suspicion. They're like, that can't be the way he's doing it. That can't be the way that they run their business, because nobody else does it that way. So it's great. I love it. But it definitely causes some side looks from people, right? They mean mug you and they're like, that can't be right. It's got to be something I don't see.
You know, it's funny. You know, obviously we text a lot, and I see the gaps of time, what you put into your clients. And I chuckled because I'm like Rain Man with conversations and events. And, you know, the most impressive person outside of you in that room that night was that lady that walked up with the really expensive building.
Yeah.
Because she was so smooth and she kind of knew who you were.
She just beelined it.
She was literally like, there was a teleprompter behind her and she went once and I was like, huh. And it was so funny. She sized us up. She goes, oh, you guys both look great. So anyway.
Yeah. She was there for one motive.
And whatever that building was, I think it was 1.73 million, because she said it like 5 times. I was like, it's 1.73 million. Got it.
She got it. She got her point across and she made sure it was heard.
But I'll tell you, the funny thing about it is, and I said this year, there's a bunch of different things we're doing. Like we're going to do a First Friday, and it might be Baseline or one of these local venues, and bring in young entrepreneurs, you know, guys that are actually even like younger than us, that 30 to 40 bracket, not the 40 to 50, for one reason. They need mentors more than ever. And whether they're a little reckless with their alcohol or their diets, like I'm doing a full-on transformation because it keeps me hungry.
Yeah.
And I realized when I had Doc and Excel Fitness, and my dad still has that trailer, it always brings back great memories. And don't worry, because you're gonna be right there next to me. You're gonna be the silver fox in the bunch.
I love it.
And you know, but the moral of the story is, you know, when I look at these different massive podcast guys, they're linked in that manner. And I say, you know what? I may never get there.
Sure.
But if I take guys that are across 3 states that are huge and create that, that's enough.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows? Maybe we do catch fire, like you said, you know. One thing I'm going to circle back to, and I feel this pain all the time, and I work very hard at it, especially with the Velocity HP coaching that we recently launched. Getting the business off I to we, getting the business off the me, that like you have to make all the money, and that the team is conceptualizing it and getting it to where you could look in and see 30 realtors that work under you, and you are one of 30 realtors.
Yeah.
And that they're producing. How hard is that battle?
Brutal. It's very hard. It's not hard because of ego. It's hard because trying to teach other people to do things the way you do it is very, very difficult. And your expectations of people to do that are unrealistic, right? So for me to expect somebody to work as hard as I do, it's unrealistic. That person's not the owner of the business. They're not making the same money that I'm making. And they may not have the same desire to work as hard as I do because it's not their business. So it's been a realization for me, is understanding that no one's ever going to work as hard as I do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I may need more people in order to get to where I need to get to. So that's been a big change for me over the last 6 months is, okay, I want to keep my team small and I want to go deep with them. I want them to crush it, and each of them to make $1 million a year. Well, that may not be their goal. And if my goal is to get to a certain income level and they don't want to get that far, I got to go wider and I got to bring other people in. So it's pushing me out of my comfort zone for 2024 to bring other people in.
I saw it pop up.
Yeah. I mean, we want to bring 12 to 15 new agents under our mast, and we only got 10 people on the team right now. So we're more than doubling the size of our business. So that's a realization for me, is just, it's hard to get people to work as hard as you do. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You know what? I run into that too. Right now we're in a reboot mode in Velocity Performance, and in physical medicine, it's funny because, you know, talking to the different, like there's probably like 5 really big companies like ours.
Right.
And the turnover is real, because the reality is once you're known, people are knocking on the door. Instead of going to find them out of school, they'll come steal yours. Right. And if their margins work, you're offering somebody 110, they'll pay them 130.
Same thing.
And, you know, the realization is that's why we love what we're doing with the core 4 sciences, because it's different.
Yeah.
And it forces the providers that they're good with their hands, or they're good with billing insurance. But I try to explain to them, like, but this technology is not bullshit, right? I'm just going to put it right out there. I mean, this is science stuff. We never send people to websites. We're like, no, go to Mayo Clinic, go read this on, you know, this Cleveland Clinic thing, go read what they're using at HSS. Right. You know, our modalities are out there in every major leagues platform. And one of the biggest things that we realized is that education is really the game changer, because there's one thing to impress your peers, like another real estate group, Mario, you know, one of these guys or whatever. And, you know, but there's another thing that when like the national real estate, whatever, you know, overseeing body says, hey, DJ, this is so-and-so from this, you're doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
When these companies reached out and they're like, you know, like Pulse Penf, you know, they came to an event for us, and we didn't want it to be, actually, to your point, when you said you had, you know, 5 to 10 realtors and you wanted to be like Navy SEALs, the groups had asked, they said, you know, Dr. O'Connor, you want to put it on Facebook, you want to push this, you really want to advertise? I said, not the first one.
Right.
I want it to be intimate. I want it to be personal. And I want them to know that even if I have to waive a $30,000 coaching fee to get that, and I just did that, you know, we had an amazing, like, tear to your eye story. The father, 2 doctors there, know him for a very long time. The father was dead on the ground. Mm-hmm. The son, who's also a healthcare provider, saved his life. During this time, the father is funding and subsidizing his cancer treatment of his son, who he adores. And I'm sitting here, and they sent me a message that they couldn't take on the coaching because of the cost. They wanted to get the devices, and I was petrified. Yeah. Because much like your system, you go, oh no, you got to like shadow DJ Ten Hoeve for a year to learn this. This is not something to pick up in a 5-minute conversation over a scotch. And I know this guy for my entire professional career. Right. And I woke up, you know, my normal 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I hit him with a text. And of course, he got back at normal civilian time at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, right.
And I said, I go, hey, Doc, I don't know what your why was. I said, but I would definitely help you out with regards to the coaching. Right. And whatever I can do, you let me know. And it was pride, right? This is a father that his son who's battling cancer, you know, you're talking about like every emotion you can tap on. Every
emotion in you.
And said, it was really personal for us to have that conversation. And I went out on a limb, and I am blown away with what you're doing and the outcomes and the financial reward and all that. And knowing him since I'm 20 something years old, I mean, twice, I'm going to be 50 this year. And I came back, and it wasn't even a nanosecond. I was like, "Hey doc, I got you."
Yeah. Covered.
And he was like, and again, it's funny, that's a grown ass man. And, it's funny when you got to say, well, I'm not asking for something free. I understand.
Yeah.
But if you fail and I didn't make that effort, I'm just sharpening the blade.
Right.
Right. You're only going to make me better by making sure you're successful.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'm asking for is when you're successful, you give me a testimonial, and that'll be worth that 30,000. And if for nothing else, for all the things that I may have done over this last year or two, I could use a couple dings off my getting to the gates. So
yeah, but you know what? You're coming from contribution, right? If you're going to give to somebody, it will come back to you, usually in twofold, fivefold, tenfold. So
100%.
You'll get it back.
I think the paying it forward thing is super important. And I was blown away because if we look at the dialogue we were going back and forth with regards to communicating with him, it was like a typical older dad texting.
Right.
Yes, sure, this and that. He wrote that response, and it was like he wrote it in the iPad typing and then sent it over, because it was like you touched it and then it opened up to a story. And I was like, wow.
He wrote you the front, back, sides, everything of the
100%.
greeting card he wanted you to see.
So let's get back into the body stuff, because I chuckle. I think both of us kind of pride ourselves on our fashion. I know that I chuckle, what are the pain points? I know that you kind of put it all out there, and I love that you go, what are you working on? What's the 2024 target area? For me, it's my legs. I got legs like two lamp poles. So
no, I got legs like a hockey player, which is why I was a successful pitcher, I guess. But part of my body I've never been able to change is my lower abdomen. And like I said, I put on a lot of muscle over the last couple of years, but my wife has also been concerned about carrying excess fat, right? When you get into your 40s and 50s, guys tend to hang on to it around midsection, visceral fat, one of the biggest detriments to heart disease. I have none of that in my past, so I don't have to really worry about that. And I still consider myself in great shape for my age, but I'm striving for perfection, right? And perfection for me is the best version of myself, and the lower abdomen's the part I just can't burn it off. So I've even cut booze out. I've tried, in my opinion, everything that's out there. And I know I could be more disciplined with my diet, but I'm still doing really good, and I'm not seeing results.
I don't want to be shameless and put a plug in here for Velocity Wellness Institute.
Yeah,
but I see peptides in your future.
Okay.
The big thing about being a fitness junkie, and I think we do that all the time, it's comical that, like, you see that spot. We were talking about that off camera. People are always like, you look fantastic. Leave it there. But I think, like anything else, your body is your business. Your business is your business. Your family is your business. And if you water it, if you weed it, if you take care of it, it's going to be the best version of that it could be.
Exactly.
And if you don't, then you get those bald spots in the yard and everywhere else, or spots that are hanging. So I love that journey is something that you have. Because again, I was chuckling because I was sitting behind you the other day, and those compliments were flowing. I was like, that's my guy.
It does feel great. Don't get me wrong. I don't think anybody would be telling you the truth if they said it doesn't feel good for people to compliment you. But if you're singularly focused on something that you're doing for you, or you're doing for your family, and you're not there yet, you keep going. The compliments are great, but it's not going to stop.
Let's talk. Well, first off, let's talk workout. We're going to get you on a calendar workout before 2023.
Let's do it.
We got to throw it out.
Let's see if I can actually hang.
We'll play that one. Let's do this. Let's play a game for 2024 and the New Year resolution. I kind of gave you a game plan today, but I think your depth and your intellectual capacity, you're going to nail this. So let's play a game where you see yourself, and I know you break it down to the minute with how you organize yourself, but let's look 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months for your New Year's resolution with regards to the expansion of, Ten Hoeve Realty and the fact you're doubling your business, right? And I know the biggest thing that when I've done that in the past, and I don't want to scare you, but I think your planning with infrastructure has been awesome. So I think you're going to be better prepared with that. But at the same time, that's some real shit you're about to get into. So talk to me about that, the fears, the success, and just the milestone. I mean, look, you're doubling down. You're going to put the fear in a lot of people that you're expanding to that level.
No doubt. I mean, we planted a flag in the ground this year. Business for the market generally across the country is down 40%. We're up 18%. So the way I look at that is we've gained 58% market share in a shrinking market. Next year, 2024, is going to be a growing market in the second half when rates come down. I'm putting all the pieces in place to be able to crush it, as a lot of people right now are having a really hard time. I mean, the number of transactions in real estate this year is down 40 to 50%. There's a lot of people sucking wind. Those agents are great and shouldn't get out of the business, a lot of them. I want to provide a platform to be able to plug them into what we're doing and amplify that. But there's real fear, no doubt. There's imposter syndrome of, can I do this? Or how is it going to be received in the marketplace? How are my competing brokerages and people that we like to do business with, how are they going to look at this? Which none of that shit matters, right? That's the stuff I have to silence every day and go, fuck it, we're doing this. And we're doing this because of where we want to be. And where we want to be is, I want to be able to provide a lifestyle to the agents who work with us that can live a life by design, which means that they're making $300,000, $500,000, $750,000, whatever it is their goal is, but they're getting more time with their family. And that's the part in this business that is impossible. I mean, I work 24/7 as most people do, but trying to find a way for those agents to get a day or two during the week to take off and spend more time with their family while making more money, that's what I'm trying to do.
I love that. And it's funny. It's like, I think if we listen to all the major platforms in leadership and coaching, they are always talking about, you can make more money. You can get different cars, houses, people, relationships, dinners. You cannot buy back time.
Nope.
And, and that was the one thing that I would say over the years that was always something that was an enigma to me, and we talked about this on our last show with you, was being the guy. Mm-hmm. And I think the one thing that I learned this year is kind of letting go of ego, mm-hmm. Because there's just been a lot of humbling experiences. And, I tell my team all the time that I love you guys to shine. I don't need to be that guy anymore. I would love to be able to sit back in the back corner of the room and have somebody looking back there saying, hey, that's Sean O'Connor. And they're like, it's crazy, right? He's just sitting back there enjoying it, versus having to be the one that's like with the spotlight and the megaphone and calling everybody and doing it and doing the grind and sitting there and saying, hey, and watching my team embodying that and saying,
you've done that already. The real skill now comes in being able to not need to be in the spotlight and to have other people teach other people how to do it. That's really hard.
That I have to tell you that, it's funny. I'm my best on a leadership perspective when I organize my team across all the locations at the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
Because each location kind of serves a different population. Much like you taking real estate, if you're in Rumson, is very different than if you're down in Manchester or whatever. So you're moving properties, a different thing, and communication, everything is key. When I do that, our company is running on an incredible level. The problem that I think a lot of entrepreneurial minds is they get mad.
Yeah.
They get angry that they have to do that. These people aren't thinking by themselves and they're not doing it. I said, but that's the price of growth. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you'd find many executives that say, you're about to have 20. It's what I have in employees. The reality is like, guys, I manage 20 people. Look at these people that are doing that in 2 or 3 days a week and they have 2,000, 3,000 employees. If they can do it, why can't we?
I think we all pay attention to what the people we admire are doing right now, rather than what are the people we admire, what were they doing when they were in our place in the business, right? You see all these people who are giving advice about waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing ice plunges, all these things that are fantastic. And they say that that's how they made their $1 million and got their business off the ground. That's not. That's what they're doing now, that they've got free time left for them to focus on themselves. All of them had to get that plane off the ground in the beginning, which was just piss and vinegar. It was 100%. Outwork everybody. That's all it was. Go replicate what they were doing 10 years ago, not what they're doing right now.
I love that. And I think that's absolutely true. I think one of the biggest things that I learned when the young practitioners come in, especially when I'm coaching, and I see you speaking now, and I mean, it's amazing how we parallel each other in our careers. And when I was coaching, I was never more satisfied in an event that I was leading the way than having the young practitioners sitting on the other seat, hanging on my words, saying, I want to do that. Yeah. Because probably the biggest thing that I've seen over the years, and I hate it, I actually don't know if I'll ever hire a new grad again unless they do the Velocity HP coaching, because it's traumatic for them. their schooling. And we learned this really during COVID when we had so much time and we were Zooming or Skyping and doing interviews. And the poor kids are like babies. Like they never really got to work on patients. And then to be thrown in an outpatient setting where they're seeing 3, 4, 5 times the amount they'd be seeing in a observation mode in school. I'm like, what am I thinking? I wouldn't allow my son or daughter to do that. Why am I doing it to somebody else's kid? And, I think I think one of the big things that I would say in the coaching for me, I'm like, God, that's just been a breakthrough thing. And I think like going back to the staff, I never did that coming up.
Right.
I always did all the work. I was always the guy, and they'd frustrate me and I would jump in and I would literally be like, I'd lose them. They'd quit. And now I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me show that to you. Now show it back to me.
Yeah.
And now
see one, do one, teach one, right?
Yeah. And when you do that, they feel there. The only problem, what I'm working on now, and I want to hear your input on that, is when you have an ace.
Yeah.
And they're so good. And I think it's our sports background, because I know you had this coach too, and is like, if you threw a no-hitter, and I'm your head coach and I'm in the huddle, I'm going to look around, I'll take my hat off, and then I'm literally going to be like, Deej, kind of did it without you, kid. You were aces.
Yep.
All right. The problem is that every other pitcher is sitting there, and we can equate this and relate this to staff, that they're immediately like, well, no one said anything nice about me.
Right. I
didn't get a trophy. And that's something that for 2024, I'm literally going to be like fortune cookies. You open them up and try to give everybody like fortune cooking Friday.
Yeah.
That if I have 20 staff members, I'm going to send a power statement to each one of them of something good they did during the week.
Yeah.
Because when I sit in meetings sometimes and I'm throwing compliments at people, I'm watching one walked in like this, and then I'm watching this one implode, and I'm like, this is bad.
But rather than giving them to them all at the same time, if all of those people are getting admiration or you're getting recognition at other points during their days and their gratitude bucket is full, they won't feel that way in that moment. They won't shrink away from the person who's getting the compliment.
So in your small group right now, do you find yourself, is that something you practice? Like you definitely inject compliments?
I am in the same place where you are. I'm literally learning this as I go, because I'm seeing the same thing in my business, and I'm reading a book right now. I'm big into audiobooks, so I'm reading The Power of Moments, and a part of that book gets into exactly this. It's like the Employee of the Month program is great until you don't have any employees left other than the person who sucks. And then you've got to give that person the Employee of the Month. And now that doesn't mean anything, right? Because now you've just diluted the whole value of the Employee of the Month program. But rather than doing that, recognize everybody for their contribution. And some of it's going to be competitive contribution. Some of it's going to be moral support, culture to the team. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's realistically finding what the love language of that person on my team is, how they want to be recognized, and making sure we're dropping into those buckets every single week. It's not a monthly or a biennial thing. You have to make sure that you're dumping on them compliments over the course of a week.
Love that. Let's give the audience something fun. I see the truck. It's all tricked out. Let's talk about what's next for 2024. As far as, do you do any team building stuff where you might go destination? Do they come down to LBI and surf? Do you what's your leadership thing that really gets you going to try to celebrate? Now you're going to a big unit, so I don't know if you're going to bring all 25 of them down there, but what's your thing for 2024? Just like this book of Power of Moments, what's the inspiration for you to make your team? And again, your team's your family, right? Mm-hmm. You're with your work family for the most part when they're with you a long time, more than with your actual family.
Yeah.
What's that ask? What's that going to look like? What are you going to do for them that's special? Or
normally somebody who tells you they are something is usually the opposite. So it sounds like I'm not altruistic by saying this, but I'm a very generous person. I would give more money away than I could actually make. So I would love to shower my team with going away on an awards trip and going nuts. Like, let's go to Greece. Yeah. Anybody who hits their goal, let's go out there on the team and let's do this. You bring your spouse with you. We haven't gotten to that point in the business yet, but that's my aspiration, is to get to a place where I can bring people and truly let them be themselves and be comfortable from not a business perspective, but let's just actually be ourselves around them. Yeah. And I want to see you hang with your spouse. I want to see your spouse hang with the other people on the team and get to truly be you. That's where I'd love to get to. So if we can do that this year, it'd be amazing.
It's funny. we had a business coach right before COVID, and he was huge on that. And we got away from it because everybody was, there was such a frenzy of the masks, and then you had to be everywhere, and it kind of disrupted. And I'm with you. I think for us, our 2024 goal is, it's hard for the business to understand it because some of the business team isn't with Velocity HP Coaching. Some of them are just with performance. Right. And then we have the baby, which is Velocity Wellness Institute. And that's medical. It's actually predominantly females, and they're awesome. Right. I don't think I've been more excited as that business is starting to go because, as we talk about this all the time. I love the whole thing for the aging male, for hormone replacement and peptide therapy. I think it's a game changer. Yeah. I think if you're an athlete and you've played sports and you're just slowing down and you want to keep that competitive edge, why not? Yep. If you can afford it, and obviously within a safe realm, why wouldn't you pursue it? But the neat thing that I'm seeing with that team, because it's really started from ground zero, is I say, guys, what's great? You're going to see patient number 1. Now you're at patient 10. Now you're at patient 50, like selling house number 1. Mm-hmm. You probably remember where you were and what it was and everything. And I said, what's magical now is you're seeing people come in and high five, and, a guy that came in chubby, and all of a sudden he's lifting his shirt up and he's doing funny things. And, we have one fan favorite, our patient that's, a celebrity, a pseudo celebrity at the Ford Athletic Club. And this man is, early to mid 60s, and he looks like he's about 40. And, he just started with us on the whole, wellness transformation. Didn't really need it. Now he's going to perfection. It's scary. He's going to have a 6-pack before you or I will. And I was laughing because the one thing that I said to the team, I go, how do we create more patients like him? Right. And, it was funny because you want to know, like, why do you guys love them? Because I don't like favoritism. Like, we see a high volume across all these clinics, and they go, what's funny, doc? He's just so kind and appreciative. And I laughed. I said, all right, well, what's funny? He's also, I think he does in the service industry, just like a side hustle, a little bartending and this and that, but he's personal. He was at a primary career and then does this as a retired hustle. And so I was like, well, how can we get that out of the other patients? Maybe we have to evoke their pain points and have them talk about it. And when you show that compassion and that care, and then you get them past it, maybe, just maybe, when you celebrate that, then we create many of him. Yeah. And, and that's an effort, because the funny thing about it is when you put people in that uncomfortable zone, like you talked about bringing people in for the challenge, they're like, but I don't like to get that personal with the person. I said, listen, they're here telling you about sexual dysfunction, loss of hair, body fat, lack of muscle tone, can't get off to. That's trust personal. Me, that's personal. You're there. You're there. So you don't realize it. You might want to say that to yourself a couple times, because trust me, if I went to the whiteboard and I put those 5 things down, I go, huh.
You just haven't seen me naked. That's pretty much all that's left, man.
You're just missing the rest of it. Yeah. So, and, that part is what's been really such an inspiration for me with the coaching. Because when I sit down, it's like I get on my soapbox and I'm like, guys, let's talk about it. Yeah. And I don't care. What I realized is in that coaching, it's why, I've been such a huge fan of this Alex Hormozi marketing guru, because you can apply that platform to real estate, to finance, to healthcare, anything, to sports training. And it starts with a kindness, dignity, gratitude, expressing gratitude. Do you ever watch some of your staff workers or people that are in your field trying to say thank you, and it's like a struggle? Yeah. And you're looking at them going, thank you's fine.
How many sentences did it take to get that out?
And I used to be intrigued because we had a couple orthopedic practices when I first started that I would have gave my left thumb for them to acknowledge how many patients we referred. And then once I got bigger to where I was probably getting more new patients per month than they were, right, I was laughing because they're like, oh, you don't send anymore. And I go, it took you 10 years to notice me? Right. No, you just noticed the patients weren't coming. I said, that's it. And, and I chuckle. I'd say, it's funny. I pick doctors based on quality, and then people ask for insurance and this and that, but based on relationships. Sure. And I try to profile, I know we talked about this before, like the 4 quadrants of personalities. And I try to match personalities to the doctor. And if I know a doctor's short, but a very good technical surgeon, I'm going to pick somebody that's like very practical and says, fix it. How soon? Yeah. Let's go. But if I know that person needs hand-holding, I'm never sending them there.
No.
Because they're going to take that shortness and that curt behavior as rude.
I don't care.
I don't care. Just looking for the insurance money, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't realize that was a skill until we started coaching and I started asking our providers, like, tell me how you refer. Who do you refer?
Right.
Why? And, you know, and again, attending that event, you were so celebrated and they were like dying to get you to be a referral source. And, you know, and it was comical because I had to like elbow you to like, go mingle with these people. They think I sell real estate. I'm like, give me your card. I'm like, we don't look that close, but I'll just fake it, you know?
Pimp it out, man. It is. It's absolutely a skill set to be able to introduce people who you know are going to get along and to have a date myself by saying this, but to have a deep bench or a Rolodex of people to be able to go, this is the best person that matches with them because of their personality styles matching. You got to have relationships with a lot of people to be able to connect the right ones.
So I was telling you about those first Fridays. So I'm putting it out there now to the world. You're going to host the first one with me.
All right.
And I know
I don't know what that means.
I know I have. It's going to be good. I think what we're talking about is just that: is teaching and educating business professionals on how to harvest a relationship, and also that they understand that it's a two-way street.
God, yeah.
And so many times, you know, I'm always intrigued by that because I'm abrupt now, you know, 25 plus years in the game. And I'm sure you're the same way where I'm just like, when they're constantly asking, every once in a while I'll joke around and I'll say, hey, listen, I just bought you a beer.
Yeah.
And they're like, but I go, I'm giving you something.
Yeah.
You should think about doing that.
I'll be here when you want to refer somebody back to me.
You know, and so that's always intriguing. Let's do this. Let's talk about, as we close out with 2024, talk about 2023. And if there was anything that really kind of, you know, struck a nerve in you, good, bad, or whatever. I mean, you know, your life, I mean, I've said it's all your life, but your Instagram stories have been amazing and you're very transparent. What is something that really hit home in the last, you know, couple weeks or months that you want to share with our viewers? Maybe a feel-good story, being Christmas time and all.
I think for me, it's something that we're going into this week. So we've never traveled for Christmas or for the holidays before. We've always, I mean, from the time I was a baby and I can remember, I was always home for Christmas with my family, and we've done the same thing with our kids. We decided to wait until the kids kind of, that magic was gone for believing in, if you still believe in Santa, I'm sorry, I just ruined it for you. But when they finally got past that, which thankfully was long, like they kept that magic for a long time. We were like, okay, we don't want to travel with you guys for the holidays because it's one of the few weeks that we can have a slowdown in real estate and actually not be here for the business. So we're traveling to Hawaii this year and I'm stoked about it. My kids are excited. But 2 days ago, I was at a Christmas event with my mom and other family, and we mentioned something about traveling for Christmas over the next couple of years. And my son just put his heels in the sand and was like, wait, what? We're going to do this every year? I don't want to do that. And I was like, wow, why? Like, tell me more about that. Like, if I was a kid and my parents told me we were going anywhere for the holidays, I would have been game for it. But he's such a traditional kid and he doesn't love change and he likes the comfort of everything that's comfortable around him, that I think shaking this up for him is actually taking him out of his comfort zone. I'm anxious to see what's going to come from that. He might love it or he might go, this was cool, but I want to be home.
One and done. Yeah. You know, it's funny. My daughter's the same way. So when you're in healthcare, you know, much like obviously real estate, it seems like it's got some similar trends. We have to try to go away when the schools and everything are shut down. And up till, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm sure with your son or your kids with sports, we only had such a window before you had the winter sport or the winter prep or whatever it was. And, you know, it's like right now, my son being an IMG, you know, he got a full workout routine. And he's got to get cranking, you know, ASAP because he's got 2.5, 3 weeks and he's got to come back in full game shape ready to go. And, you know, so I get it. And my daughter, we went somewhere, we were gone, whether it was Thanksgiving or maybe it might have been a Christmas. And of course I got the Italian guilt from my mom, Hi mom, you know? And I was laughing because I was like, you know, I get it. We were away and we had a great time and there wasn't, I don't say a drama family, you know, like we always like to host the holiday. So I would say when you host it, you can control the drama. When you go somewhere else, the only actionable move you can make is leave.
Yeah. Irish escape.
You know, you got to call like the magic word that you go between couples and you're like, all right. And all of a sudden the coach is
serenity now.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I get it. So I think Hawaii, congratulations. I know you guys, does everybody surf in your family or attempt?
They all can surf. I don't know if they will while they're out there. And I'm kind of weird like that. I like surfing with my buddies in a place where I'm comfortable, and if nobody's with me, I don't feel the urge to do it. So I may actually not surf while we're out there, but just being someplace warm for the holidays is down my path.
Without a doubt. Are you guys going to fly into California, doing it direct, or?
We're stopping over in San Francisco on the way there and LA on the way back, but we're not staying there. So it's literally just get out
Touchdown,
there, get back,
walk, shake out the legs,
That's
and go.
it, man.
Awesome.
Rock and roll.
Well, listen, you know what? Loved everything about today's podcast.
Always, man.
I really think that the message today about family, growth, business, of course, the trouble spots on Bidey. I think it's everything people are thinking about right now with the holiday season. I think that people are all taking that deep look inside and saying, hey, getting ready for the next year. You know, for me, the big thing was the season of separation. I've been living off those that podcast that I might let put out a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's the game changer to really kind of just keep pushing and keep evolving. I love the growth in the business. I'm going to be a huge promoter for that for you. Man. And anyway, wishing you all the luck in the world with that, and happy holidays and a great time in Hawaii.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. Obviously, DJ Ten Hoeve with Ten Hoeve Realty is one of the top realtors in the state, climbing to be one of the top in the country. So proud to call him a friend and have him on the show today. We'll have all his contact information on the platform, and please follow us. And if you enjoyed the message, please share it with your friends. It's how we grow. We're so thankful. Happy holidays, guys.
Thanks, man.